Okay, so Carmelo Anthony is no longer on the Rockets. They waived him after 10 games because he's not good at the two things you need to be good at to be a role player on that team, which is three-point shooting and defense. His percentage wasn't awful from three the entire year, but if you look at the 10 games he actually played, he only shot well from three in 3 of those games, and all the other 7, he was like, he either didn't make one or he was like 1 for 6 or whatever. And then, of course, his defense has been pretty bad. So, can Carmelo Anthony still be an NBA player? I mean, it would be nice if he would recognize what he should be at this point, which is a guy who should probably weigh about 20 less pounds than he does currently, and focus on just those two things, three-point shooting, and you don't even have to be an above-average defender. Just be like a human being on defense, you know? But Melo is, of course, not... He's not really that. Well, he's a human being, you get what I mean. So, what type of NBA team would actually want Melo at this point? I mean, it's probably not going to be like a good one who already has a foundation, right? Because, I mean, you look at a team, I mean, we already saw it with Houston, but look at a team like the Raptors, for example. Like, the Raptors are already 12-1. They've got their game plan set. Why would you want to throw Carmelo Anthony into the mix, who is going to want to take mid-rangers and post up and ISO and all that, right? I think you can say the same thing for the Bucks, even a team like the Pacers, who's a little worse. The only good team I could picture Melo going to is the Warriors. I could also, in a weird way, picture the Spurs, because if anybody's going to make that work, it's going to be Popovich. Not that I think he would actually want to take that on, but I respect the dude enough to where that team already loves mid-rangers and all that anyway. Other than that, though, it could be just like some bad team who is just desperate for some sort of offense and is content with Melo going to the basket a million times and all that. And maybe they would run specific cut plays and give him the ball and pick and rolls and all that. And I mean, there's Cleveland. Do you think Melo wants to go to the Cavs? I don't think so. There is also the Miami Heat, who I've talked about them, well, it was a couple months ago now. They're just a really weird team where they're probably not going to be that good. At their best, they're going to win 45 games. And they're swamped with salaries. They're just kind of stuck. Would Melo bring just a little extra attention to the team that could potentially get a few more people to attend the game? Honestly, I don't even think so. I think everybody gets it with Melo at this point. But I also think Miami is a potential thing because, if anything, they're like kind of content with not shooting a million three-pointers a game. They're like mid-tier in the league right now in threes attempted a game, and they've also been really good at getting guys' careers back on track because of their training staff, and everybody loses weight when they go there, and James Johnson being the biggest example of it. So, I mean, if anything, Melo could go there and could be like kind of productive. Even then, it's going to take a little bit because I think the dude is a bit on the heavy side. I'm just going to go down the NBA standings, or start from the bottom and go up, and maybe we'll find something. So Phoenix already has a million wings. Thibodeau is just going to want defensive players for the T-Wolves. Dallas already has a better version of Curran, Melo, and Harrison Barnes. The Rockets are done. The Pelicans have got Mirotic and Julius Randle at their forward positions, and Solomon Hill, so they're pretty much capped out, or maxed out with their wings, I guess. There's no way the Jazz are going to want him. The Kings have a million frontcourt players, and Bjelica has been great for them as a floor spacer, so I doubt they'd want to seep into his minutes with Melo. The Lakers, I mean, there is the LeBron thing, and if LeBron really is the GM, and if LeBron's going to continue his trend of being a really bad judge of talent, then maybe we could see Melo show up there. Would I think it'd be a good idea? No. That team already has defense problems, and I mean, some of that was because they just didn't have a lot of centers, and Tyson Chandler's been pretty alright for them. But even so, I don't think Melo's going to help out. And they have a decent amount of wing players. Clippers, you got Gallo and Tobias. Melo wouldn't do anything. OKC's not going to happen. I think the Grizzlies are in a similar boat to the Jazz where they just don't want him. Like, it just doesn't fit their play style at all. I already mentioned the Spurs. The Nuggets between Millsap and Trey Lyles, not going to happen. Could the Blazers talk themselves into it? I mean, they could always use a little bit more offensive stuff, but I don't think he's the answer. I think Aminu is way more valuable for them than Melo's ever going to be. Talked about the Warriors, I guess. Now we move on to the East. Cleveland, I mean, yeah, like, why the hell not? I don't think they would do it. I don't think Atlanta would want to do it. They've got all those young dudes. Melo to the Wizards would just be the nail in the coffin. Could he go back to the Knicks? I mean, if they want to tank, then that would certainly do it, but it's not going to happen. Chicago. Another thing with this, too, is, like, where's Melo going to want to go, right? Because he probably doesn't want to go to a bad team because he thinks he can still, like, help out a good team in some way. Like, in his brain, I guarantee you he's saying, I'm good, I just wasn't a good fit for the Rockets. So he probably isn't going to want to go to any of these bad teams anyway. Talked about Miami. Could Orlando do it? No, they've got all that front court stuff going on. Brooklyn, I mean, their play style isn't that far away from the Rockets. Maybe they generate shots a little differently, but they still want to shoot a million threes, and I don't think Kenny Atkinson's going to want Melo. The Pistons, you know, in a weird world, I could actually somewhat picture that if they're just desperate to get a little bit more offense. I don't think Brad Stevens would want him. Maybe Charlotte would be super desperate for some offense. Indiana's got a bunch of front court dudes with Thad Young, and they're trying out the Sabonis-Miles Turner thing. Philly needs more shooting. Budenholzer's not going to want him, and I don't think the Raptors are going to want him. So, interpret all that as you wish. I do not have a clear team that should go for the guy, but I guess there's a couple that I could picture it a little bit more. I'll tell you this, if I was a head coach, if I was a GM, I would not want the guy, because at this point, it's like he's declined so much in the thing that made him great for so long, and he's not a good enough shooter or defensive player to now make up for that. So that's what it is with Carmelo Anthony, man. Will he end up somewhere? I don't know. Probably. But, yeah.